The James Show Podcast.
Let's go. I want to get rid of some fun stuff in the news before we get to... I feel like the bulk of the show is going to be taken up by a very disturbing story in today's edition of News from Bug Tussle. But let's go to the more important, broader news first. Donald Trump was on Mark Levin's show last night. You heard it right here live on WBAP. I told you about it when I was ending the show yesterday. I was like, hey, Donald Trump's coming on in about 5 minutes. So just keep it right here. Well, I know you're a creature of habit and maybe you missed it. So let's go ahead and review what I think are some of the high points of what was discussed just on this station right after the James show yesterday. Donald Trump on Mark Levin. I got it distilled down into 3 clips here.
I love stopping the wars. I thought, though, that this one, because I actually had a good relationship with President Putin the first term, and despite the fact that we had Russia, don't forget, that's not easy to overcome when he sees these whack jobs. And he knew it was false because he wasn't involved. Not to say he's an angel, by the way. He knew it was all a made-up thing, and, he probably thought we were totally crazy, this country. And we were. It was a very corrupt, bad situation. And actually put us in danger.
Right, and that's... interesting from the point of view of Putin. Imagine you're Putin. You're over there and you didn't interfere in the election in 2016 and you all of a sudden get credit for it. Hey, Donald Trump got elected and it's all Putin's fault. Oh, really? What did I do? That's kind of cool. And there's a couple of other, like, now that we know, now that it's hard to argue that Trump did not collude with Russia to steal the 2016 election. I mean, that's all done. Do you remember in Helsinki, Finland, when Donald Trump and Putin were at some outdoor press conference? They had a meeting there, and Putin was at one podium and Trump was at the other podium. And the someone had leaked from the intelligence community. Remember when all the leaks were happening? Someone had leaked something about Trump definitely colluded with Putin. That's for damn sure. And so they asked Trump about it, and then they asked Putin about it. And Putin's like, no, I don't know what they're talking about. And so when they asked Trump about it, they said, so do you believe your own intelligence agencies, or do you believe Putin? And he's like, well, in this one, I don't know. I think I'm closer to Putin on this one. And that was the biggest deal in the world. I was like, oh, my God, he's siding with Putin over his own CIA or whatever the leaker was from. Turns out that he was right, and Putin was right. Well, Putin was right compared to the leaking from the CIA and the headlines that dominated in 2017, 2018, 2019. So that's always got to be remembered. Whenever Putin comes up in these situations, he is a bad guy, terrible fella. The world would be better off if he would just calm down and stop invading neighboring territories. But who's worse? The leaker that was lying about him? Isn't that weird? Another clip last night where Mark Levin asked President Trump about the meeting between Putin and how it compared to the meeting against Zelensky.
I had a very successful meeting with President Putin. I had a very successful meeting with President Zelensky, and now I thought it would be better if they met without me, just to see. I want to see what goes on. They had a hard relationship, very bad relationship, and now we'll see how they do. And if necessary, and it probably would be, but if necessary, I'll go and I'll probably be able to get it closed. I just want to see what happens at the meeting. So they're in the process of setting it up, and we're going to see what happens. But you got to stop the killing. There's too much killing. I don't care. You don't have to be, again, nobody from America is being killed. We're not being killed. The United States soldiers aren't involved. We have no boots on the ground. But when you lose 6,000, 5,000, 7,000 young people, and then you also lose some people from the towns and cities as missiles get lobbed into them.
Yeah, and the reason it's important for you to hear this, you probably intuitively knew that that's what's on his mind, is this is what people are arguing against. Why are you arguing against? Like, even if you had criticism of Trump, even if you dislike Trump and you didn't want him to be in office, you could at least count your criticism with, like, I agree with him that we need peace immediately. I just don't like, the red carpet or the way he's going about it or whatever. But they're not even really conceding, like, hey, he's on the right track, or I agree with him in spirit. I just wish he would do something different. Now he's still just literally Hitler. One more clip from the excellent interview between Donald Trump on Mark Levin you heard on WBAP last night.
They took the whole thing, the way I look at it, if I didn't come along, they took the whole thing under Biden. They took Crimea under Obama, and they took a big chunk of Georgia under Bush. With me, what was taken? Nothing was taken. I came in, this thing was raging. I think it was heading to World War III. And you're not going to have that anymore. That's the nice part. You're not going to have to worry about that. But we'll see what happens in terms of getting it settled. But this was heading to World War III. This is the worst thing that's happened in terms of war. These are the biggest numbers that we've had since World War II.
All right. So the context he put that in, I want you to remember this going forward, because we're going to have an interesting experiment here for the next 3.5 years. Because what he did bring up is kind of an interesting point that was brought up when this whole invasion happened in Ukraine. There's a strange behavior pattern ever since Putin came to power. He took land under George Bush. He took it from Georgia. He mentioned there, you probably remember, because this is the only time it was ever in the news, the provinces of South Ossetia and Abkhazia. If you're new to talk radio, that's worth a Google. And then he took time off. Then he took the Crimea under Obama. Then he took time off under Trump's first term. Didn't take any land. Trump gets out. Biden comes in. He takes a couple of provinces in eastern Ukraine. Is he going to go another 4 years? Is he going to go the second Trump 2.0 here without taking any land again? Because that would be strange. It would be like, okay, so he took some land under Bush, under Obama. He stopped for Trump. He took some land under Biden. Then he stopped for Trump again. Man, what's coming after that? So I think that was your big three takeaways from the Donald Trump interview on Mark Levin last night. Well, they're back to business in the Texas House of Representatives. We should be getting some votes happening. We should be getting some results before the end of the week. In fact, I believe we're reaching out to my good buddy Brian Harrison to come back on the James Show to give us another terrible update on how bad things are going. I know. I hate it too. I mean, we like Brian Harrison, the person, but every single one of his updates has just been dismal, absolutely dismal when it comes to your business, your priorities, the will of the voters not being done in the Texas State House. And keep this in mind next time you get accused of, it's a threat to democracy. What's more of a threat to democracy than the elected representatives going to Austin and not doing what the people said? If you are the citizens of a country, your voice is supposed to be heard through the voting system. That's the whole point of democracy. That's what they claim to be concerned about. But when the people, an overwhelming majority of voters, want something to be done and the representatives don't do it, wouldn't that count as someone thwarting democracy? And so if democracy is being thwarted, who's thwarting it? Well, in Texas, it would be Team Blue. It would be the people who ran. It'd be the people who still get no school choice or no significant property tax cuts. It'd be the people who maintain the status quo when it comes to some of these other issues, especially cultural. So there's a little bit of optimism here. I don't want to be completely negative because, number one, this isn't a show where I get mad and yell at you and whatever. And plus, I'm not that negative of a guy. Plus, we still live in Texas, which is the greatest state and the greatest country the world has ever known. But with all of those qualifiers on it, do not get too excited about the will of the voters being done in Texas. It's so much easier if you're a politician, especially if you're a fake politician. And we almost use that term backwards. When we talk about a fake politician, that implies that it's one of the guys that says one thing on the campaign trail but does something else when he gets in a seat of power. But that's not what a fake politician does. That's what a normal politician does. If the majority of the politicians behave that way, the fake politicians would be more like a Donald Trump or a Brian Harrison or one of these guys that gets in and doesn't act like the rest of them. He doesn't get all the money. He doesn't get all the connections. He doesn't have what's the APAC or whatever that has a lobbyist fall around everybody in the House of Representatives except Thomas Massey. So let's go ahead and remember that this isn't abnormal behavior. Not for a politician. Oh no, this is normal. The job as the politicians is to go out and tell you what you want to hear in order to get your vote. And then he goes to Austin. And look, unless you're just an angel, we're all susceptible to these temptations. Because what's best for you and your family may not line up with what the voters sent you down to Austin for. And so what? if you don't take a stand on school choice or real school choice, it wasn't going to pass anyway. So while you're down there, you might as well get a few grand, help put your kids through college, or maybe your grandkids through college, or whatever you need to tell yourself to just put the moral salve on the guilt of being a grifter. But that's the norm. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Now, let me point out a couple of bullet points that I've said before, but we need to remember this throughout all of these special sessions. We need to remember this through the primaries next year. Number one, we did not see a single Democrat who ran, who abandoned their post, who fled the state, who, to what? To stop democracy. None of them were arrested. None of them are facing charges. None of them removed from their seats. None of them even lost their parking pass. We still, important bullet point number two, we haven't seen a law proposed aimed at preventing this stunt in the future. You don't even have to vote on it for yourself. Just see if you can get a referendum passed. And maybe the next time we all go to the ballot, we'll vote on another amendment to the Texas Constitution, which has have you ever noticed how the American Constitution, 28 amendments, Texas Constitution, 3,000 amendments. I mean, it's not that high, but it's in the hundreds. Let's just throw another one on there. If you leave in order to avoid a quorum, in order to thwart a vote that you'll lose, you lose your seat. Anyone proposing that? I had 2 callers call in and tell me that yesterday. And the response is, thank you. Yeah, we all thought of that. We're all thinking that right now, and it's still not being done. So whose fault is that? Not you, the average Republican voter, or the average listener, conservative listener, WBAP, or if you're an independent or liberal, whatever. It's not you. You don't expect the Democrats to do this to themselves. The people who are supposed to be doing this. The quite obvious solution to prevent this theater from happening again is not being done, and it's in the control of the leadership of the Republicans in the Texas House of Representatives and Senate. So find out who these guys are, primary them, get them out. Do not forget this when primary season rolls around, please. So we also know the second that the votes start happening and things start getting passed, another thing that you have suspected will be confirmed, and you should not be happy about it. Both sides have just been play acting for media attention. Both sides knew not a damn thing was going to change with this stunt. The Democrats knew that they could run, not be charged with a crime, not lose a seat, not lose any of the reins of power, which is all they really care about. Republicans knew if they just let them go throw their hissy fit and say some mean things in the headlines and slander you, that they'll come back and they'll get their votes anyway. And it doesn't matter. They weren't really going to give you school choice. They weren't really going to give you property tax cuts. The only thing they're really stuck on is this map, and that's because it increases the power of who? You, the voter? No, the Republican Party. They're both in on it. It's one big club, and you ain't in it. Hey, don't feel bad. I'm not in it either. But I'm going to talk to everyone and hope a couple people actually let this sink in. In the next segment, you and I need to have a little chat about you running for office. Oh, James, I can't run for office. No. I want you to listen to me. Maybe you think you can or you shouldn't, or it'd be a waste of your time. But just open your mind, bring down your walls, be a little vulnerable. And then the next segment, I want to talk to you about running for office. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
Our secret weapon for vibrant health. This is Spencer McGowan. My wife and I, Katrina, we founded advancedregeneration.com after a breakthrough in laser therapy that actually regenerates tissue and reduces pain. Our medical director, David Slater, designed protocols that have helped me clear my sinuses, heal both shoulders. I've treated both knees and a low back. The experience that Katrina and I have had healing our backs and other injuries led us both to our sacred healing mission at advancedregeneration.com, located at Preston Center. We've also treated neuropathy, sciatica, advancedregeneration.com. You can actually book your time at Preston Center right there on the website, advancedregeneration.com. Get the breakthrough that professional athletes have used for years. advancedregeneration.com.
What's up, football fans? Football's back. Football's back. Football's back. Preseason's underway. College football's here. So don't miss any of the action with Prize Picks. And for those of you who like to wear burnt orange on Saturdays, he's on there. Your quarterback, he's on there. You can go right now. Look at Arch Manning's statistics for his first game. Pick more or less, 240 yards. Is he going to throw for more or less than that? It's that easy. And then you can make a lineup of 2 to 6 players. If you hate burnt orange, you can say, I'm going to pick less on him. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, legal in more than 40 states. Yes, including Texas. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code WBAP to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code WBAP to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. You know, maybe you should run for office. If you need any more inspiration, you should just go and look at what's happening in the halls of power at pretty much any level in your world right now. We have the Texas House. They're going to vote on the map. They may vote today during the James Show. In fact, I've got another screen up here, and I've been watching these goobers. And the more you watch this, spend some time watching these goobers, and you'll think, oh, I can do that. I never really thought, like, I'm a dumb man. Never really thought, well, I'm an idiot. There's no way I should be in Congress. But I did think, people who run for Congress, people who, take the reins of power should be a little more thought-provoking than me. I like football. I like drinking beer. I like hot chicks. I like rock and roll music. And, I'm just a regular old dude. Certainly there's some guy out there who aced all his tests, who was like the valedictorian of his class. Some guy who actually does crazy things like gets their oil changed every 3,000 miles or makes their bed when they wake up or never leaves dishes in the sink. These kind of perfect people. I have a nephew like that. He should run for office. But if you've ever had any inkling about running for office, you probably should. If you've never thought about it, you should at least think about it. Let me give you a taste of what I'm talking about. This is what's going on in Austin right now over the maps. This is Barbara Gervin Hawkins, great, a hyphenated name, Texas State Representative, arguing with some other guy I don't know.
There was a public hearing in Houston, correct?
That's Saturday, yes.
And on July 28th, there was a hearing in Arlington, Texas, correct?
That evening in Arlington.
Okay, when did the maps drop?
I believe the maps were filed Wednesday.
So Wednesday, and then you had a hearing the next day with people who could not weigh in on a yay or nay. It's my understanding those maps were not released until after the public hearings. Is that true or false?
Well, you're wrong because the hearing was Friday, not Thursday.
We had several hearings before the maps were dropped. Would you agree with that?
Ma'am, you just said the map was dropped and then we heard it. The fact is it was filed that Wednesday. The hearing was Friday. Let's get the specifics down. And I've answered everything to you in committee that I'm answering here. Tuesday, after the Arlington hearing, the chairman of the committee asked me if I would present.
Oh, I can't listen to this anymore. This is like listening to my children bicker. No, I did. You rode in front. You rode in front on the way home yesterday, and then on the way to school, it was her. So it's my turn this time. That's what this sounds like to me. It sounds like my kids arguing over who gets to ride in front. Oh my God! As if the public hearing had been like 2 days earlier, she'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm okay with this map then. No, you don't like the map. I get it. Period, point blank, in the story. Let's stop trying to find little knick-knacky paperwork crimes here in order for you to get your way. You're going to lose the damn vote. You already got to throw your hissy fit. You already got all kinds of good headlines. You can do whatever you want, and the media's still going to call me Hitler, so stop griping. Just, see, run for office. You can do better than this. Someone's out there saying, I don't know, man. I'm kind of a big loser. He's definitely not talking to me. No, run. Listen, one thing I have done being in talk radio, it's not just here in Dallas. It's been in pretty much every market I've worked in. You get invited by political types. Hey, come to our little event. We're having a fundraiser or we're having some other like a fun run or something. And they often have these little times where you get to meet the candidates. And man, some of these candidates are just mouth breathers. Republicans, Democrats, both sides. Because the decent people don't want to run. If you have something going on, if you have a successful business and an awesome family and stuff, you wouldn't want to risk that to go into politics. You know who does run? The people who are either so narcissistic they think they should be in charge and they love to make everyone listen to them and do what they want to do. These people were hall monitors when you were children. That's who's drawn to this. Narcissists, people who crave power, or people who are too dumb to know that they shouldn't be running. I know you think it's fun to be a congressman. You want to be famous. You want people to pay attention to you. That doesn't mean you're going to be the best person to represent us when it comes to statecraft. Al in Azle, why don't you run for office?
I am thinking about it, except I don't think they'd like me down there because I'm going to call out all the, I'd have to bleep it out, the people I think is wrong. In fact, I'm a Louisiana transplant from here. I've been here for 4 years, and I love Texas. I love Louisiana, and I love John Kennedy from Louisiana because he tells it like it is. Now, another question: How could I con George Soros into funding me to run for Congress?
Run as a Democrat. Run as a Democrat, just go to their meetings, say the right things. And this is something that's come up like 5 times just this week on the James Show, is the Dan Bongino rule, is there are Democrats who pretend to be Republicans, but there's no such thing as Republicans who pretend to be Democrats. Maybe you should try that, Al.
I got told by a professor one time that if I ever run for political office, I'm a graduate from LSU. If I ever run for political, I would get assassinated.
Oh, I would definitely get assassinated. I want to end all programs. I want to end all regulations on, well, not all regulations, but most of like the FDA and the USDA. I want to get rid of public housing. I want to get rid of food stamps. I want to get rid of welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. No, I wouldn't make it past the primary. I probably wouldn't make it out of the building today if anyone thought I was going to win. But yeah, run for office. In fact, if you don't believe me, go to some of these, find out whatever side, team red or team blue, run for office, go to some of these, or join your little local party, go to a precinct event, go to some county level events, go to one of these places that has a meet the candidates, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I should probably be running for office. And then come back and on the James Show, call in and be like, man, you did this show back in 2025 saying run for office. I was like, what the heck? I ran for office and now here I am. I want to hear that story. Okay? So go get on it. Go be successful. My next guest is going to come in and talk about all the higher prices that you've been paying. One of the big ones, school supplies seem to tick up just a little bit. I feel like I paid more this year. But Michelle Schultz coming back on from Schultz Trade Law. And how much of this is tariff related versus how much of this is just good old fashioned inflation, Michelle?
Hi, James. Good to be on the show. I would say quite a bit of it is tariff related. It's been difficult to pinpoint until now where the tariff changes are trickling down to the consumer. But as a representative of the importers, I can say that importers are now really struggling with the cost of their imports and how they're going to pay, even if they're manufacturing in the U.S., how they're going to manufacture from foreign components, if at all. So I think it's a lot more than inflation. The tariffs are really starting to take effect.
So what countries are in the clear? If you're getting your supplies or your inputs from some countries, you can already stop worrying. Do we have like a list of which ones are clear?
Well, just about every country is going to be subject to some sort of tariff. The UK came out actually fairly well, and I saw that there were exemptions for the UK, and we had a pretty overall good result. But for the vast majority of the countries that we normally deal with, you're going to have to find an exception or a free trade agreement or some other loophole in order to save money on those tariffs, because 15% is the baseline.
Well, let's talk about the exceptions. I don't hear a lot about those in the news. Are those pretty hard to get? Do you have to be politically connected, or is it just a matter of paperwork?
It's paperwork mostly, but it can be a lot of paperwork. So what we have is there's some special provisions for U.S. goods returned for repair, and they're under a special chapter of the Harmonized Tariff Code. We also have special provisions for things like goods that qualify for the U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement.
Okay.
And the difficulty is you've got to be able to prove your country of origin. And so Customs is really on the lookout for people labeling the wrong country of origin on their products. I think it's more difficult than you would think to prove origin. You have to prove a specific percentage or otherwise that there was a substantial transformation into a completely new item in U.S., Mexico, Canada Free Trade Agreement country. And so it's pretty technical, but there are exceptions available, and we are pursuing any chance we get the loopholes that we can find.
So what is the new deadlines here? They keep getting pushed back, and I think China got another, 30-day or 90-day reprieve. What's the latest, if you know that off the top of your head, Michelle?
Yes, China got an additional 90 days to decide what they're going to negotiate. So they're still subject to tariffs, but not the highest tariffs yet. And they have until November to negotiate a deal with the current administration. Otherwise, we're going to see very high tariffs on China, very likely above 100%.
So, Michelle Schultz, you work in trade law. Have you seen a lot of people resource their inputs based on this?
I have. And I've even seen companies circumvent the United States, essentially. So if a company is not able to manufacture in the U.S., they're now saying, let's just not go into the U.S., maybe stick with working in Canada and Mexico and use a foreign trade zone in the U.S. or a temporary import bond, something where you don't actually have to import. So, we are seeing a lot of companies jump and pivot to different countries, different programs, and even some of them going out of business.
All right. Michelle Schultz, Schultz Trade Law. If someone needs your help, how do they get in touch with you?
So go to schultztradelaw.com, and that's Schultz without the T. The T is in trade. So schultztradelaw.com.
How many times have you said that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is SCHULZ. There is no T. The T is in trade. Love it. Well done. Michelle Schultz, Schultz Trade Law. Thank you for your insight. Coming up next on The James Show, there's a hot story here in North Texas about the Dallas mayor taking a luxury vacation to Africa, and the taxpayers had to pay for it. And look, generally speaking, I don't agree with what he did, but I'm really not going to lose any sleep over it. And if you listen to the next segment, it'll probably calm you down a little bit as well. Also, I have an eye over here on what's happening in the Texas House of Representatives. We are being told that they're considering voting on the redistricting map, and that might happen during the James Show. So if it does, I'll be sure to just pop over there when it does happen. Who is this? It's just some lady talking on the floor.
Dismantling them.
Yeah.
Harris County's Latino.
I've got an eye on them. If it happens, you'll hear it here first on the James Show. Stay put. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.